Good morning, and welcome to our Lenten Green Worship Minute. The Lenten journey has historically involved giving something up for Lent. The idea is related to the spiritual practice of fasting, abstaining from food or from certain kind of food for a period of time. And the idea is that this attention to what we are consuming or what we are not consuming helps us to remember our intention to attend to our spiritual well-being, not just our physical needs. In a time of global climate change, I think this kind of Lenten practice could be incredibly appropriate and powerful, because in a way, climate change is rooted in both a spiritual problem and a consumption problem. We've been encouraged for decades now to shift our sense of identity, as Craig was talking about in the sermon. This sense of identity, how we see ourselves. It used to be, I remember back when I was a kid, just yesterday, right? How people used to think of themselves as citizens within a society. And before that, long before, for hundreds of years, Christians were encouraged to think of themselves as God's servants. And one of their earliest callings was to be that of being stewards of creation. But now, everywhere we look, we are called to label ourselves and encouraged to think of ourselves as consumers. Not citizens, not God's servants. And that is who we have become to a large extent, consumers. Consider this. In 1960, the average North American bought fewer than 25 garments per year, which surprised me. I wouldn't even thought it was that much. But now, the average is 70 new garments per year. Per North American, almost 3 times as many as in 1960. So the carbon footprint of that consumption and production has increased 3 times. And clothing is just one example. We also know that in North America we buy more food than we used to, and that sadly we throw half of it away. We also buy more phones, more televisions, more cosmetics, more cars, more furniture. The examples go on, and each has an increased carbon footprint and increased climate risk. So maybe we could all consider a new or a revised, very old Lenten spiritual practice. What if we started to challenge the identity of consumer that has been thrust on us and consciously adopt again, or with renewed vigor, the identity of stewards of God's creation? We could do that through a rather simple Lenten practice. We could exercise mindfulness about what we buy every day. Before we buy something, we could simply ask, is this something I need now? Or is this something I need at all? Does this purchase make me a consumer or a steward? Lent is a time to be mindful of living out our spiritual identity as servants of God. This year, let's consider doing that in a way that helps address the climate crisis today.